All right. Welcome to a treat here, folks. A YouTube edition of the MIA All Day podcast because I thought, North Carolina game, got to bring the noise a little bit. Got to step up the game following the Georgia Tech debacle, and I'm not going to get into that game today. I will say, I am wearing the Miami Knights hat that came out last season, although it went from Miami Knights to Nightmare on Elm Street, or Nightmare off the Turnpike pretty quickly there with Georgia Tech. But again, listen, I'm not going to cover that. Manny and I discussed all the ins and outs of the Georgia Tech game on the Wide Right podcast. If you guys want to tune into that on YouTube, you could find it under Manny Navarro's channel, or you could obviously find it on podcasts, where all podcasts are podding, wherever you get your podcast from. So the Wide Right podcast discussed the in-depth issues with Georgia Tech. Now, I will say this, and I will, leave Georgia Tech alone. We'll put it to bed. We'll put it down on one knee. It's I'm seeing a lot of people, being upset and focusing on the fact that the referees did a terrible job, which they did clearly. That was not a fumble by Don Chaney. This guy for Georgia Tech, I don't even know his name, began his slide before entering the end zone. All these things, right? Like, ACC, we need to, see get damages for this. We need to receive some sort of compensation for this. We need to get somehow make this right. And there is no making it right, guys. The game is over. That they're not going to overturn a Georgia Tech win for a Miami win because of this video evidence. The ACC's new director of officiating said the fumble call was correct, which is total bullshit. Because he's Don Chaney's elbow and shoulder were clearly down before that ball starts to come out. Um, we are all focusing on many different things as it relates to this game that really ultimately don't really matter. The Hurricanes lost. That's the bottom line. Whether or not Mario decided to take the knee, whether running the football was a correct decision, whether Don Chaney fumbled or not, whether somebody starting a slide before entering the end zone means they are down as to where they right where they begin to slide. None of it matters because none of it's going to change. We need to leave all that in the past, and nobody cares. Nobody cares. And continuing to harp on this, specifically the officiating, makes us look like, or makes fans, the Hurricane fan base, look like whiny crybabies. And I hate that. I know I've got a lot of shit this week for saying that I was piling on top of Mario because on Monday, the first day following the weekend, Manny and I discussed in detail the whole issue about kneeling and his decision not to do it. And before he had his press conference with the university on Monday, he really just kind of brushed things off after the game and started to talk about having two hands of the football, and I was upset about that. So a lot of people having a lot of emotions about all this bullshit. At the end of the day, the bottom line is the Hurricanes lost the game they should have won. Okay, that's the bottom line. They had a game in hand and they lost it. And you know how you fix this moving forward? When you have an opponent on the ropes, or we have an opponent where who you're supposed to beat, or you come into a game against an opponent who you believe is inferior to you, you show them the same respect you show an opponent who is undefeated and ranked top 5 in the nation. You go in and you use the old saying of kill a mosquito with an axe every play. That's how you fix this. And that's what it's going to take. Because say what you want. Yeah, the guys fought back. They got back in the game. They got up 2017, 20-17. We're running the clock out there at the end, but it shouldn't have been that close for comfort. It should not have been a game with the Hurricanes where having to fight back from 17-10 with 12 minutes left in the fourth quarter to try and escape with a victory against a team they were clearly superior. So again, old habits resurface. This whole mentality of, our shit don't stink. Riding high on our coattails, riding high in the national press, riding high in our ranking. That's the other mental part of the game. It's not just playing hard when it counts, when the game is on the line and trying to fight back. It counts at all times. When you're preparing for a game moving into a week and you're preparing for any opponent, how you prepare ultimately is going to reflect how you play. And if you're preparing with a half-hearted effort in practice, with half-hearted attention to detail, without the focus that's required in film study, and really understanding your opponent and preparing for their best shot because you're gonna get it, then you're gonna get a result like you got this past Saturday. And it's unfortunate. And I'm happy that these guys fought back. I'm happy that they played hard. I'm happy that there's some areas where improvement was shown. But when you are showing a lack of focus at times, especially some of the most important positions on the field, be it quarterback, safety, corner, um, those things, coaching, those things are concerning. And the only thing the Hurricanes can do now, and the only thing I want to see now is I don't give a shit about the knee anymore. I don't give a shit about the fumble. I don't give a shit about the slide. The game is over. The Hurricanes lost. They're 4-1. Done. That game is gone. There's nothing that can be done about that game. The thing you could do now is focus in on the rest of the season, specifically focus in on North Carolina, get a huge win in Chapel Hill, and beat a team you have not beaten in 4 years against a very good opponent. And when you come home, a lot of those wounds will be healed. And if you get that win and you keep that momentum going, and you're able to have that springboard you forward to a better end result, then you've used that Georgia Tech game as a learning experience. And there's an old saying that says, when you lose, don't lose the lesson. So I think that's important for the Hurricanes here. Don't lose the lesson from this past Saturday. Don't just sit there and wallow in anger and frustration. Do something about it. Look back at it, fine tune the areas where you made mistakes, where you were weakest, the areas where you could have done better and you didn't, the areas where you lost focus and you should have been zeroed in, dialed into what you were doing, the areas where the coaching staff have had opportunities to make decisions to put the players in better situations. And I'm not just talking about the knee. What I'm talking about is offensive coordination, making better calls, making better decisions, putting your players in better positions to make plays. Defensive coordinators also, although the defense I think played pretty well. Making decisions to help your players make the best plays possible and counter what the opponent is doing. Do those things. Don't lose the lesson. If you lose the game and you lose the lesson, then everything is just a wash. Everything's just for nothing because you're not growing. It's acceptable to take this loss and grow from it as long as it springboards you forward to a better result at the end of the day. There you go, first shot show. If this loss is used as a teaching tool to make you a better football team, make you better players, and have a better end result at the end of the season, then it served its purpose. Turn that negative situation, that disappointing situation, into something positive. And oftentimes in life, we don't learn from the easy situations. We don't learn from the positive outcomes. What we learn from is the trials, the tribulations, the mistakes, the challenges. Those are the ones that make us grow. Those are the ones that make us reflect and take a look at ourselves and what we're doing wrong and what we could do better. Because when you're winning, when you're succeeding, oftentimes it's like, hey, we don't need to change anything. We don't need to look that deeply. Let's just keep doing what we're doing until it doesn't work anymore. Until you run into a buzzsaw, you run into something that requires you to adapt and change, and you haven't been prepared to adapt and change because you've been riding this high and never really looked at yourself, never been really introspective and looked at what changes you could possibly make. And there you go. That's the end of that. Okay. So let's get into the North Carolina Tar Heels. All right. So here we are, my friends. Canes versus Tar Heels, Game 6. What you gonna do when the Hurricanes keep coming after you? I don't know. That was totally terrible. Tried to do a little Hulkamania. That was a total fail. And I ask for your forgiveness. We move on. All right. So when we're talking the North Kakalaki Tar Heels, we're talking about offense, right? Led by that guy right there, Drake Maye. Right now, the Tar Heels are ranked 46th in the nation in terms of rushing yards per game. They're averaging 174 yards per game, effectively. They have the 11th ranked passing offense in the country, no surprise, averaging just under 326 yards a game. And they are 19th in the country in points per game at 36.6 points per game. So they are a potent offense. They struggled early on this season, the first couple games, first 3 games really, because they had a transition in offensive coordinators. Phil Longo, the longtime offensive coordinator, left North Carolina, went to Wisconsin, and he was just, he was incredible. He had them playing with a lot of pace, a lot of speed, getting up to the line of scrimmage, getting plays off, created a lot of opportunities for Drake May in the passing game. Obviously, his run schemes were fantastic as his offense ran for 9,000 yards against Miami back in 2020 and has always done a good job with that offense. And I expected them to be sluggish to start and possibly all season as they adapted to a new offensive scheme. They were, but they've started to pick it up of late, and they just hung 40 in a pretty good Syracuse team this past weekend. And Drake May seems to have found his groove. A lot of people were talking about Drake May being slipping, maybe having a sophomore slump. Some people on the ops saying he's not the same quarterback. My friends, you guys are insane, right? Drake himself said it. I had someone tell me I fell off. Ooh, I needed that. And Drake May's back. So his first two games, he averaged just under 239 yards a game passing. He had 2 touchdowns and 2 picks. Last 3 games, though, he's stepped it up. He's got 6 touchdowns, 2 picks, and is averaging just a shade under 386 yards per game. All right. So this guy is not slipping. He's figuring out the offense. The offense coordinator is figuring out how to use him and what positions to put him in and where he likes to operate. So what you'll notice is, as always, Drake May likes to use the middle of the field. Carolina's offense, that's been their hallmark over the last few years. And specifically with Drake May, they like to attack the middle of the field. When they go deep, they like to attack the middle of the field when they're going intermediate and short. Look at all those numbers. You see the breakdown between the numbers there down the center. He has thrown most of his passes in the middle of the field. Big plays have come from that area. So when you look at this Carolina offense, you're going to see a lot of in-breaking routes, a lot of posts, slants, ins, crosses, things of that nature, where they're looking to have their receivers run away from defenders across the field or settle in zones in the center of the field. They will attack 2 high coverages, I mean, 2 safeties, by breaking across the field and trying to ride the seams. And when they start forcing you to overcompensate there in the middle of the field, they will attack you down the sideline and try to hit you deep. So I think Drake May is the kind of guy that likes to work the middle of the field. You'll see that a lot with their offense. So be on the lookout for that. Let's look at Drake May here by the numbers. He's got a 77.7% completion percentage when he is kept clean with 4 touchdowns and 1 pick. That means if you do not touch this guy, he's going to light you up. He's going to be just a torch, a flamethrower to your defense. When he's under pressure, he's only got a 52.5% completion percentage, 4 touchdowns, 3 picks. But guess what? That completion percentage, number 1 in the ACC. So even when he's under pressure, he's good. So what does that tell us? Well, if you're going to get at Drake May, if you're going to pressure him, you got to get him down. You got to hit him at least. You got to bring him down with sacks, because if you allow him to run around, he can still make plays while under pressure. Okay? This is critical, as the Hurricane defense this season has not done a good job of getting quarterbacks down with their pressure, and that's been a little bit disappointing. When Drake May is not blitzed, when he sits back in the pocket, he's got a 79.1% completion percentage. He's thrown 3 touchdowns and 2 picks. When he's blitzed, that drops a bit to 61% effectively, but he has thrown 5 touchdowns and to only 2 picks against the blitz. So again, if you're going to pressure Drake May, you're going to have to do it with your front 4. You better not do it with all-out blitzes because he will find the open man and he will punish you. So to me, the idea is get pressure with that front 4, bring him down, get in his face, hammer him, and play coverage behind him. Well, what is Drake May? Where does he feel most comfortable in terms of making plays in the passing offense? He's big on just straight drop back. 148 of his attempts have been straight dropbacks, 71% completion percentage there, 991 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 2 picks when there's no play action, when it's just a straight drop back for him. Still solid with play action, 74% essentially completion percentage, only 638 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks, but only 71 attempts coming off play action. So that means that, off of his 219 attempts, most of his attempts have been straight dropbacks. This is not a heavy play action offense for Carolina. They will throw screens on occasion. They've only thrown 28, though, throughout the entire season. So this is a basically, drop back, let Drake May read the field and throw the ball kind of offense when it comes to their passing game. The UNC receivers, Nate McCullum having a good year for them. He's a speedy receiver, can make some big time plays. He's got 355 yards receiving, only one touchdown though, but he's a Big Ten playmaker. This guy's dangerous. And when you pair him now with the return of Tez Walker, who in one game had 6 catches for 43 yards, I think it's going to open him up even more. I think you saw that against Syracuse. Syracuse might have been focusing in on Tez Walker a little bit too much, and they left McCullough open a couple times. J.J. Jones is a big hitter. He's only got 18 catches on the year, but he's got 318 yards, averaging 17.7 yards a catch, almost 18 yards. No touchdowns yet, but that's coming. Kobe Pacer, another one of the receivers, 22 catches, 282 yards, 12.8 yards a catch, 3 touchdowns, steady receiver, possession kind of guy, not a burner like Jones or McCollum, but solid. And I really like their 2 tight ends, Brian Nesbitt and Kamari Morales. They've combined for 23 catches, just over 300 yards and 2 touchdowns. Morales is more of the deep threat. Nesbitt is more of the guy who runs the underneath stuff. So Morales, Nesbitt's the bigger dude. Morales is the burner. And there you have it for the Carolina receivers. I think with this offense, you're going to see, McCullum and Walker get a lot of work, and then Jones and Paceworth kind of mix in. I think Walker is going to be a little bit more of the focus this week again, as he starts to work his way back now in his second game. He's understanding his role in the offense a little bit more, and I think they're going to make a point of getting him the football, so he can make plays. And I think you'll see probably maybe a few more screens than you're used to seeing from Carolina, maybe some quick screens, some bubble screens, just quick things to get the ball in Tez Walker's hands this week. Like I said before, they like to work the middle of the field. Got your numbers here. McCullum has 2 receptions for 94 yards and 1 touchdown down the center of the field in that 20-plus range. So that means his 1 touchdown has come on him running a deep route down the center of the field, and I think it was against Syracuse this past week. Jones has 5 catches and 184 yards down that middle in the 10 to 20 plus range. Pacehour has 4 catches and 119 yards and 1 touchdown down the middle of the field in that 10 to 19 range. Nesbitt has 111 yards in that 0 to 19 yard range with 10 catches. Morales has 93 yards in that 0 to 19 yard range. So big average for Morales. The rushing attack of North Carolina, which we have, as Hurricane fans, geez, we've had to see this so many times. We've had to deal with this rushing attack up close and personal so many times. Their leading rusher is Omarion Hampton. You see him right there. He's got 88 carries for 461 yards, averaging over 5 yards a carry and 7 touchdowns. Their second leading rusher is Drake Maye himself. He's got on 52 carries, 174 yards, only averaging 3 yards on average, on average, and 4 touchdowns. That, of course, includes sack numbers. And their backup running back, British Brooks, 40 carries, 165 yards, 4.1 yards a carry. That's half the carries of Omarion Hampton, essentially. So you're going to see a lot more Omarion Hampton than you're going to see anybody else. Caleb Hood was a bigger featured back last season, 13 carries so far this season, and a touchdown. Expect to see a lot of zone read stuff from Drake Maye as well. See him scramble. He's not so much of a run schemer in terms of the run game. Scheme stuff up for him, but on occasion he'll use his legs to pick up first downs and move the football. He's an athletic guy, deceptively athletic guy. All right. So Hampton's most successful running plays have come to the left side A gap. And the A gap is essentially that gap between the center and guard. So on either side of the center, you've got A gaps. So the left side A gap is going to be the gap between the left guard and the center. And in that area, Omarion Hampton has averaged 9.8 yards per carry and 2 touchdowns on 15 attempts. So they feel pretty good running there. And it's only been 15 out of his 80-something attempts. But if you're looking to make big plays with Omarion Hampton, essentially that's where you're going to go. So what does that mean? Need strong defensive tackle play and linebacker play closing in that A gap. All other rush areas, Omarion Hampton's averaged 4.1 yards per carry. 9 of his rushes have gone for 10-plus yards. 9 of his rushes of 10-plus yards have gone through the left side. Actually, I have just gotten dyslexia mid-show. I've had a stroke. So he's got 9 rushes of 10-plus yards. That's what I was trying to say there. 4 of those have gone through the left side A gap. So just about half of his rushes of 10 or more yards have gone through that left side A gap. He's forced 23 missed tackles. He has not fumbled yet. Drake Maye, as I said, he's got 179 yards off scrambles with 6 rushes of 10-plus yards himself, which is almost as many as Omarion Hampton. So got to be careful with these guys. This game cannot be a situation where you're playing so much man and not spying the quarterback or not having somebody assigned to keep whatever is in front of keep an eye on the line of scrimmage, because what happens is if you turn your back and just play straight man all over the field, you're going to turn your back on Drake May. He's going to make you pay with his legs unless you can bring him down. Very important to stay in your rush lanes as well. Make sure you contain him in the pocket and don't allow him to scoot up the middle of the field when your defensive tackles get fanned out, if they get fanned out. All right, there you go. A little Corey Gaynor action for you. Former Hurricane. Yes, sir. God, I'm glad he's gone. Anyway, Carolina's offensive line is okay. They're not great. They're not so great at run blocking, as their average run blocking grade across the line against the offensive line, across the offensive line, is only a 51.8. So that means the average of all 5 offensive linemen, their average run blocking grade together as a unit is 51.8. That's well below average. Their average pass blocking grade as a unit is 62.4. Yeah, it's roughly around average, not great. Believe it or not, their best pass blocker, Corey Gaynor, with a 75.8. He's only given up 3 pressures and 1 sack this season. Their worst pass blocker is number 76, William Barnes, with a 31.4 pass blocking grade and 2 sacks and 10 pressures. So wherever 76 lines up, that's where the heat needs to come from. If we're going to blitz, if we're going to bring a pressure, we're going to bring an additional guy uh, from the second level, I would attack 76. I'd run stunts, games, slants, twists, all up in his face, all up in his grill like Missy Elliott. While you're all in my grill. Anyway, attacking him and attacking that side of the field to try and get at Drake May. Number 81 is their blocking tight end, but he averages like in the 40s in both categories. So when you see 81 in the game, they're likely running either running to his side or adding him as an additional body to pass protect as sort of a 6th offensive lineman. North Carolina's defense. There you see them stuffing App State. They are ranked 40th in terms of rushing yards allowed at 117.8 yards per game, so just a shade under 118 a game. They are ranked 54th in the nation in terms of passing yards given up per game at just under 217 yards. And they are ranked 30th in the country in terms of giving up points. They are only giving up 19 points per game. So this Carolina defense is better than anticipated. They've improved over last season. I think they're starting to find their groove. And you saw that last week in their performance against Syracuse, which is a very good offensive football team. And they held them to 7 points. You know, big guy right here, Cedric Gray, leading tackler. He's the guy that makes that defense go. He's got 42 tackles and tied for the team lead with 3 sacks as well. Defensive end wise, K'Mon Rucker, he's the guy on the edge that really brings the pressure. He's got 25 pressures this season, 3 sacks. Watch out for him. Wherever he lines up, you may want to bring a tight end over or chip with a back. Number 28, Elijah Huzzy, their corner. Leads the team with 4 pass breakups and 3 picks, a cover grade of 82.2. This guy is a number 1 corner. This is what you want to see from a number 1 quarter. He's a shutdown kind of guy. You throw his way, he's either going to break it up or come up with a pick. So I would try and either use crossing routes at him, mix formations to try and bump him off to a secondary type receiver, and try and avoid throwing at him deep. I think he can run well with receivers down the field. So use motion, use alignments, use different things to confuse him, knock him off his route, whoever he's covering, knock him off his man, and try and take advantage of the other corners on the team or the other secondary members of the secondary, which aren't as good as he is. So their corners also are not great tacklers. You know, Huzzy might be a great cover guy, but he's not a great tackler. He and his other mate average 51 tackle grade, so not very good. Number 29, Marcus Allen, the other corner, he averages 60 points. His cover grade is a 67.6, which is okay. Safety Giovanni Biggers, he's got a 60.0 cover grade. And Tavon Holloway, their third corner, has a cover grade of 53.1. So as you see, like I said, you know, outside of Huzzy, the other corners are okay to less than okay. If you see Huzzy, if you see Holloway in the field, he's their worst cover guy. Number 20, I'd attack him. If you're going to run something deep and have a safety over the top, you want to run it at Giovanni Biggers. Marcus Allen is okay at corner, not great. As far as their run defense is concerned, number 10, defensive end Desmond Emmons. Number 10, Desmond Emmons. Evans. I am struggling here today. I am apparently stuttering, fumbling, and stumbling, bumbling, fumbling like Kate Jackson. Babe. Let's keep it moving. So Desmond Evans, his run defensive grade is a 55.0 run defensive grade, and defensive tackle number 5, Javari Rizzi, has a 41.4 run defensive grade. So if you see 10 and 5 lined up together on one side of the field, you run at these guys. You definitely want to run at these two and force them to come up and make plays in the run game because they are not great at it. That leads us to the X's and O's, baby. What is the game plan? How can the Canes secure a win against North Carolina? Okay, so first and foremost, I think coming off last game, and really just as it's shown throughout his career, TVD needs to get comfortable early. So I need to get TVD comfortable early by putting him in position to make and complete easy throws. That means quick screens. We haven't seen a bubble all year. Throw some quick bubbles at him, throw some slants, throw some hitches. We have not seen an RPO slant all season. Need to see some of that. And you also want to run wide at these corners, and you want to throw these quick screens at these corners to make them bubble screens to make them come up and defend and make tackles, which they're not great at. So you want to put the onus on the corners to make plays in the run game and in the pass game where they need to be the first line of defense as far as stopping the ball. And if you do that, I think your missed tackles are going to be able to make some big plays. You don't want to run play action at Cedric Gray. You want to make him commit to the run. You want to make him flow up to the run and throw behind him. He's an aggressive guy. He likes to come up and hit. So use that to your advantage. Use his momentum against him. Again, I would avoid throwing deep at Huzzy, and I would move your guys around with alignment and motion to confuse him a little bit, to mix up his responsibilities and the other corner's responsibilities. I want to see some more 4 wide, some more 10 personnel, which is 4 wide and 1 running back this game, less double tight end sets. I want to see them put pressure on these Carolina corners and this Carolina secondary. And again, have TVD make some easy throws with hitches, slants, bubbles, that kind of thing. Because it's clear the Hurricane offense line has improved from a year ago, but it is not dominant. It's not elite. So you may want to throw a little bit more to open it up, to open up those run lanes to make it a little bit easier for them. So Carolina's not loading up the box, which I anticipate Carolina will do. I think Carolina's main focus is going to be on stopping the run first and making Miami beat them in the passing game. And they will probably throw some zone coverages behind that to try and make TVD confused. So get ready for that. Use the running backs in the passing game. There's been a lack of receptions by running backs here at Miami this season. That's disappointing. And with a lack of tight ends, you're really selling yourself short in the passing game if you don't have an additional threat outside of the receivers. So I'd like to see more of a tight end threat. Use Riley Williams a little bit more. Somehow get Jaleel Skinner on the field if you could do it, and use these running backs in the flats and screens and things of that nature in the passing game. And finally, don't get overconfident. Don't get greedy. Take what the defense gives you and move the football, move the chains, keep possession, score points. Don't force things and turn the ball over. Defensively, I want to see us pressure Drake Maye and get some sacks. He can make throws under duress, so it's best to get him down. It's going to be difficult to beat Carolina if he's sitting back in the pocket unbothered and if he's not taking shots. Run a lot of 1 high safety coverages, I would say, because you want to close that middle of the field off and you want to drive down on those dig routes. You want to play cover 1, cover 3, mix things up. So you have more 1 high safety looks, not split safety looks that Carolina can take advantage of and use in their offense as they like to do. Control those A gaps in the run game. What does that mean? Slant, stunt, pinch into the A gaps, force things to spill to the outside, and the linebackers come up and make plays. You do that through solid defensive line play, specifically solid defensive tackle play. Need big game today. Need a big game this week, finally, from Leonard Taylor. We've been waiting for it for a long time. We've been sitting here and hoping that these flashes become sustained success and consistency, and we haven't seen it yet from Leonard Taylor because of these A-gap runs from Maurian Hampton. And the potential for Drake Maye to scramble and break up the middle of the field. LT needs to have a big game this week, and it needs to start a run of big games because as ACC play wears on, they need him. He's going to be huge. He's going to have to be huge. Stay disciplined on the back end and the secondary. Make sure you stay in your responsibilities, your zone or your man responsibilities. Do not get fooled. Do not break off. Do not try to play hero ball. Do what you got to do and bring ball carriers down. Force turnovers and secure the football. So you want your defense to get a pick here and there, force some fumbles, and on offense, you want to secure that football and make sure you don't turn it over. All right. So there you have it, folks. That's the breakdown. Okay. So, do the Canes win tomorrow? I said before the season started that I thought this was probably their best shot to win out of this 6 week stretch against Carolina, Clemson, Florida State. I thought Carolina was going to be the most susceptible. I thought this would be the place where they could pull off the upset. Because coming in, I felt like the Hurricanes would be the healthiest that they had been, or they would be against the other opponents. I felt Carolina would be struggling with offensive issues because of the loss of Phil Longo, and I just thought it was damn time, right? So I think the Canes will win. I'm going to give this to Miami, uh, 31. No, let's say 20, 27, 24 Hurricanes, pulling off the upset in Chapel Hill, avoiding back-to-back losses, and ending the schneid against the Tar Heels. There you have it. No kneels, only Tar Heels. Let's get this W. Please, for the love of God, let's get this W. Good luck to all you Canes fans out there. Enjoy the game. Be safe. And remember, guys, we're all on the same team. No need to jump on each other. No need to have Cane on Cane violence on the social media boards. All right. Take care of yourself. Go Canes.